We'll call the meeting to order for the IMU Board of Trustees of the Electric, Water, and Communication Utilities for August 26, 2024. Roll call, Chelsea, please.
Selgrave. White.
Present.
Smith. Rosga.
Yes.
Voigt.
And Smith.
Lori. There you go.
Did I say that? I thought I did. Maybe I said it too quiet.
Okay, moving on to public comment, and I am not seeing anyone from public, so we'll go on to the consent agenda. I need a first and second motion to approve the consent agenda.
So move.
Okay, and I guess we'll go through line by line. Any questions on the claims? Oh, wait a second. Okay, yeah. Minutes?
Get your question answered?
Yeah, I answered my own question. Minutes? Approval of the June 2024 financial report. Doug, would you like to? Yes.
Thank you. Mike, my question would be, is this the biggest usage and revenue day in the history of IMU?
No.
No. What would be bigger than this?
We're about 3.5 megawatts under what our peak was a year ago.
Seriously?
Yep. You seem to, if one days or just these short spurts, you don't see it. It's where we have those long extended heat waves.
Gotcha.
People finally start turning air conditioners on.
Well, it was a question. It was a question. Okay, the financial report, trustees, that should be in front of you is for the 12 months ended June 24. And that means that when you look at the budget versus the actual, it should be, it's 100%. And we know that, I did have a conversation with Chris today about, I've been involved in the financial world for a long, long time, and you look at the revenues and the expenses as compared to the budget, and it's very, very, very accurate. And so I said, you must be amending that budget. And they said yes and no. They amend it for the capital items, but not for the revenue expense items of the various categories, water, whatever, electric or whatever. And in fact, they put that together 18 months before June 30th. So they're doing a phenomenal job. That's all I got to say. And we do know that the auditors apparently were here sometime last week or whatever for 4 days. And so what you see here will be adjusted for some accrual adjustments, but I'm not sure that the trustees see the accrual unless they get the audit report, because it wouldn't be reflected in here, because I'm sure you reflect the adjustments in the ending balances. So anyway, those really are my comments concerning the June 30th, 2024 financials. Questions?
So I spent, just because it was year end, I spent a little more time than usual going through these, and I do have a few questions on each of them.
Okay.
If that's
Sure.
okay. So on water first, on revenues, I noticed we were pretty consistent between the 2 years, but I noticed we are running on the main water service sales, like we ran 92%, so a little bit under. And I thought it was interesting that we ran under budget, but we were actually 1.6% over on gallons used. I just thought it was interesting that we used more water, but we still ended up under budget. So just something from a budgeting standpoint that I thought we should maybe take a look at.
And I was just giving them credit for the outstanding budget.
Yeah. And then in the water capital expenses, and I know this has a ton to do with just timing of stuff that you can't control. But it seems like it's consistent, like every year. Like this year, we only spent 50% of our water capital expenses. Last year, we only spent 40%. I think the same thing has happened like every year. And it just seems like we should do something to address that. But like we need to plan in some way to make sure that, because we always talk about from a strategic standpoint that we're not doing enough to take care of our not only the plant but the replacing water mains and stuff, that this isn't getting us there. So
Well, a little bit to that is somewhat kind of a unique to municipal. It takes us 3 months to amend our budget. And so oftentimes what you see there is we'll budget for something, we'll include it in the end of the year, like, or any, budgets, because we need to have the legal authority to be able to pay for it. But, so we're kind of super conservative on the timing on giving us legal authority to pay for it. And then what'll eventually happen next year, it'll roll over and happen next year when we thought it might. So there's a bit of that you see is not just spending half of what we should, but the just-in-case philosophy of that project might land this year. We really didn't expect it to, and then it turns out it was also included the next year because that's when we eventually paid for it. So it's...
But if that were the case, then we shouldn't be accumulating as much in our ending position in the capital fund is kind of my point, though. We should be eventually spending it down.
The project's eventually going to come around.
Right, yeah. And so I hear what you're saying. I know there's things that are out of our control from a timing standpoint. So it's just a comment on my part that we need to figure out how, if we're going to budget $1.2 million, we need to figure out how to spend $1.2 million is the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, absolutely, and some of that too is, and it's not the half of the budget, but some of that stuff is too is we just throw a dollar amount in there for possible city projects, and like I think this year there was almost 300,000 that is on the city CIP. They didn't get to it, so it's
that's the
earmarked.
part I totally get
in
that
there.
is out of you guys' control.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, when that's the situation, are there things that we can do to replace those dollars? That can we find something else to put those dollars for us to make project on making progress on replacing mains? Since they're not doing that, can we do something else instead?
Nope,
I'm
absolutely.
just tossing that out.
Yep.
Pull the projects in that are scheduled for later on, bring them in, do them, and replace them, and it's just a one-to-one swap.
Right. And then, Chris, this is just being picky, but I noticed on the bottom there, the water cash on hand, I think we're missing a number there. For
Oh, yes,
capital.
we are. Yes, we are.
Yeah, we got O&M, we
Yep.
don't have capital.
Yep. I will get that corrected.
Okay, I think that's it for water. So the next one is the admin, IMU admin. Let's get that. So on admin, so it looks like we're accumulating a little bit of a net cash position there. I don't think that's necessarily the intention, right?
Yeah.
There's like 224,000 now.
That comes from a couple of things that were kind of in this, on the accrual basis. We hold the liabilities for the city cash, so it'd be unremitted city cash and a couple of other those timing-related things. In general, the intent is to be net zero, but, between write-offs, we hold all the liabilities for write-offs, the asset for write-offs for everyone, but we're only going to put through true revenue ours and the difference between our cash or our revenue-based asset and what could get returned accumulates as a,
That's what that
in that
represents.
asset, yeah.
Okay.
So it's, in true cash, it's not, but a lot of, I mean, probably the largest is, that's next month's cash for the city gets held in there. We collect it during the current month and then pay it to the city the 10th of the next month.
What percentage would you say that is out of that 224?
It probably, I don't know, 80-90% of it.
Oh, so it's the vast majority?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to think, it's 15 days of what turns out, our monthly payments to the city are about 400,000.
Right.
Okay.
That's for
No, that makes sense.
all
I
their
just,
services.
if it was gonna be like 30% or something, then, but that makes sense. Thanks.
Okay, I'm on to electric now. So kind of the same analysis on the electric revenue. So it came in right at 100%, which is outstanding on the budget. But I thought it was interesting that we actually declined on kilowatts used or kilowatts billed by 2.3%. So we must have been planning on seeing a decline there because we came in essentially right on budget. So good budgeting there. So that's good.
I think a little bit, and we'll look at this more closely, that it's always seemed to be a bit of a timing issue because for both water and electric, the amounts billed come from, for example, the July 1 bill. I pulled that from the billing systems, but that actually is usage from May to June. So I think a lot of it is
So it's kind of a
timing.
month off,
Mhm.
Yep. That makes sense.
And I'm not sure right off the top of my head, a better way to do that because the billing is what it is,
Yeah.
with the timing and all of
Yeah,
that. So.
I get that. That makes sense. Chris.
Okay.
And on expenses, running 94% of expenses, that's good. Water was very similar, so I didn't mention that on water. And then kind of the same point on the electric capital fund. It's not quite as, doesn't stand out quite as much on the electric side, but we only spent 42% on the capital for electric. Last year we spent 65%. I know we're trying to, and I know you guys are impacted by timing on stuff too, of what projects you're able to move forward with, but again, we just need to figure out how to spend what we've got budgeted there to make sure we're making progress on that. So it's just hitting later in the summer then? Yeah.
So does any of this go to if the city decides they can't do a project, they back out, and then we're kind of stuck, that we talked about on Friday? I don't know if that's part of it, but
On the electric side, I think there was always the coordination with downtown as a concept, but in absent that downtown, the city's projects don't necessarily impact electric as much as it does water.
Because
Water.
they bore the majority of their conduit in. Yeah. Directly in the street, yeah.
no. Okay.
Okay, I think that's it for electric. And then on fiber, just a couple observations first on subscriptions. We're at 4152, which is an 8.6% increase over the prior year. That's good growth. I noticed that had a surplus of 221,000. I believe that's the first surplus, right? Kurt?
Yeah, there's
I thought we had a small surplus
maybe
last
just a
year.
little bit.
Was there a
Maybe
little
30 grand
last year?
Maybe
Yeah,
it's,
I mean,
I mean,
real
it's
small.
yeah.
Yeah, this is showing 52,000 of a deficit last year.
And that's probably the accounting adjustment, you know.
And that didn't include depreciation last year. This year's 221,000 includes depreciation.
I believe so, correct, Chris?
Yes.
So without depreciation, we would have been like 600 and some thousand surplus. So that's good. We're making money in fiber, which is what now, 4 years in, 5 years in? Yeah, which is where we expected to be. I mean, we knew it was gonna be several years to get to this point, so. So Kurt, I wanted to ask you about inventory. So we're carrying like $1.9 million in inventory.
Correct.
That's a big number to me, especially when you compare that to your expenses. So expenses, you know, including labor, operating expenses is about $5 million. 1.9 million as a percentage of 5 million is, you know, that's, you're carrying 1/3 of your expenses
Sure.
in inventory.
But keep in mind, my inventory also includes everything that sits at the customer prem. So all the ONTs, all the routers.
Oh, so everything that's sitting at the customers, you have to carry that as your
Yeah.
inventory.
So which is why that grows every year as we continue to add subscribers.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so, yeah, actually, the stuff we keep in the yard has probably gone down or maintained over the years, but yeah, it's that customer prem equipment that really
That's helpful,
drives that
thank you.
cost. So, yeah. So,
That's a high number that you have to maintain for
A lot of equipment.
At least 4,152.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Honestly, I think the last time I ran the report, and I haven't run it for a while, but last time I looked at it, we were north of 12,000 devices that we manage out there throughout the community. So, yeah, so there's a lot of equipment out there.
that. Yeah, and then down at the bottom, and this is just for, well, I'll point this out on the positive side first. So cash on hand, I believe this is the first year end we're positive on cash on hand, right?
Not cash on hand, we've never been negative, but are you looking at an equity?
Oh, okay. And I think that's part of my question. So we're still carrying, so we're still on a net position, 3.9 negative, but we do have cash on hand.
Yeah, we've always had cash on hand. I mean, some years more or less than others. You know, so fiber takes a lot of cash management work that, you know, some of the others don't. We're negative 4 million. That is better as an equity position than we were planning on being right now. Last year, I think we subtracted 800,000 from equity. Haven't, you know, or increased it, decreased the negative number. Expect to do that again this year. So we've always had positive cash on hand, but our equity position is slowly but surely climbing out of that.
And it looks like the capital fund, though, is sitting at a negative fund balance, and it hadn't been previously. But that's because we got the funding for the fiber to Pella. Yeah.
Yeah, and some of that is, you know, as we put in capital stuff, we have those segregated capital funds, but when it becomes an asset, it gets shown up on the 640, just kind of what, you know, so we have because the depreciation's on the 645 side, that's where we hold the assets. So there does end up, when we do depreciation in a lot of those, we take the completed projects and move them from capital and kind of need to do a little bit of, because that's a equity number and not necessarily cash. You know, there's artifacts of that.
Okay. Okay.
Or I guess I should say net position. You know,
Yeah, because our net position actually, even though we had 221,000 surplus in the operating fund, we were negative quite a bit in the capital. So overall net position is still got worse a little bit from one year to the next. It looks like 3.8 to 3.9. Okay. That's all the questions I have.
Yeah, real quick one, just the Ella route reminded me. We got funding for that, right? Or we took out a loan. And when we took out the loan, we ended up, the bids came in less, correct? So we had additional, so we have additional funds sitting there. Is that still the case? And how close are we to paying everything off? Because I know we had talked about the potential for a few different projects to make that up. Where does that all stand now?
Yeah, we're moving forward on the XGS pond, which will give us the capability to provide speeds over a gig.
Mhm.
Those cards are available now. We put in an order for those, so those should be in towards the end of the year, which will replace our 801 cards that we have now, so our G.8R2 cards. ABR TV is still floating around out there. Cedar Falls is still like is getting moved over by the end of the year. That'll also take some capital expenditure, so that's still on the horizon as well. And then I'm not sure if we had anything to take the rest of that or not, but that'll eat up a good portion of what was left. So
I'm just thinking about interest rates right now. They're higher than they were at that time, so we're probably better to keep that money and use it for projects than to pay back just simply because of the interest rates that are out there. I know my position was a little different than that, but that was when the interest rates were significantly lower. So we can't, I knew that was something you guys were gonna look into, whether we could or not, so if we can't even, still fits better with the interest rates that they are now, so great. That's all I had.
Anybody else? Mike? Good? Okay. All right, and next there's, on the, thank you,
Thanks,
Doug.
Doug.
On the consent agenda, we'll continue to the resolution approving pay app 4 to Miller Electric for the downtown underground conversion project, South Alley premise wiring project. Do you have questions on that? No? Okay. And a resolution approving pay app 9 to Petrotech for the turbinate control project. Okay, Chelsea?
Rosga,
yes.
Belgrade,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Boyd,
Yes.
Okay. Next, we'll move on to electric utility action items. I need a first and second motion to approve resolution setting public hearing and letting downtown underground conversion project West Alley premise wiring modification.
So move. Second.
Okay. Questions? Comments?
So this will be this will be the west and southwest corner of the square, just kind of what we just got done with the Miller pay app for to do the south side. We're just going to the west side and the southwest side to do that same deal where we're going to convert those services over to the new underground system.
Okay.
Engineers,
Before,
I'm sorry.
we'll do that before winter.
Yeah, we'll start here. I can tell you actually, I've got the dates. Earliest possible start day would be 10/16 of this year, and then we said they got to be done by June 30th of this next year. Give them a little bit of time to do all those. Still some of that electrical equipment for them is still tough to get. So that's our hope, get somebody in there and give them a little bit of time to get it done.
Awesome.
Okay, Chelsea, roll call, please.
Selgrade,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Rozga,
Yes.
Hoyt,
Yes.
Okay. Then I need a first and second motion to approve consideration of the authorization of a handwritten warrant to Iowa Realty for $10,000 earnest money as presented by staff.
So,
I need motions.
So moved.
Second.
I think all the trustees are aware of IMU looking at a couple of pieces of property. I won't go into any detail about what that is, because we don't have a signed purchase agreement yet. We're expecting to hear in the next couple of days more details about getting that done. And once we do have a signed purchase agreement, part of that is a $10,000 earnest deposit. So before we use this consideration, just to prepare for the eventuality that we do have a signed purchase agreement for some property we're looking at.
Okay. Chelsea, roll call.
Smith,
Yes.
Rozga,
Yes.
Hoyt,
Yes.
Selgrade,
Yes.
White.
Yes. Okay, electric utility informational items.
So we'll start with Turbine 8. I know you've been getting some updates on that from Chris. But yeah, it's up and running, which is definitely positive. We've got still some maintenance things we're working on that as well. We've got actually our internal staff is working on some stuff instead of contracting that out. So saving us some money and time on that as well. But still a little bit of stuff to do, but the good news is, for the most part, it runs. Mechanical stuff, vibration stuff is back. And actually the vibration, since we brought in that contractor in, they've got the vibrations way down on it. So that was a huge benefit by having them come in and do that. But still some control stuff they got to work on and tweak here a little bit. But for the most part, we're heading in the right direction with it. Turbine 7, we do have a capacity test coming up. We had to reschedule that due to work on Turbine 8 was going on at that time. So we just found out Turbine 8 capacity test is now going to be this Thursday between 1 and 3 in the afternoon. We'll be about a half an hour before or after that. We'll have to have it up and running. And I guess I should back up a little bit on Turbine 8. As part of that run, all that run time, we were able to we believe they're going to classify some of that as our urge test. So we completed that process as far as what we're doing Thursday with Turbine 7.
We'll send out notifications that I know
That it's
Facebook had a
coming,
lot
yeah.
of jet engines running over.
Yeah, we'll certainly post that on Facebook. I don't know that we have any, with just a couple of days' notice. Don't have a whole lot more in the way of options. We were looking at, trying to at least define our urge test schedule. That's about the only thing that we know, or we know weeks and time frames. Get that out and either kind of on a billing statement when those come up, or some other documentation version of that. Great.
So, I used to live over in that area, and I don't remember you guys running those at all, or noticing that they were run.
Yeah,
Was there something different about when you were running
some of it's time of day.
just because it was
And
running later
we hit,
afternoon,
when we
evening?
were, that week we just had phenomenal weather. People just had their windows open.
Oh.
And they just, typically when we try to run in the afternoon, number one, when people aren't home. And that's usually that 1 to 3 o'clock, so we don't catch a lot of people at home during that time. And unfortunately, we had some of those runs that had to go later in the night. But, so yeah, that's kind of
But you'd be able to, will you know the day before? Or is it just the day of, it's when you know that you're gonna have to?
Sometimes we don't know until the day of. I mean, like right now, we're on standby. I could get a phone call and I gotta be up and going in 15, 20 minutes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so sometimes our notice is very short.
Okay.
Couldn't we do something though that would just put a note out to say, we've got some upcoming tests, we're not certain of time or day, but just if you hear that noise, rather than being on the back end of it, 'cause it just felt like this last time people were bombing us about, gosh, this is loud noise and what's happening. If we got in front of it and just said, it's probably gonna be in this window, whether it's a week window or a couple of days, wouldn't that be better than not saying anything at all?
Yeah, and we are planning to do that for testing. That's certainly a possibility with testing, but like Mike was saying, for actually, need to run on-call basis, sometimes we only have 15 minutes notice to get that going. So it works, that scenario works for testing. It doesn't work all the time.
I think that's great. Yeah, I totally understand that. And, I think really just if we do end up having to run, we just remember to send out a notification. If we have got 15 minutes, obviously our main objective is to get to that running, but eventually just get something out there. Facebook seems to be where we hear the most, so therefore if we just notify them, hey, FYI, I think that works fine. We totally understand that you have to run them. There's tests, there's verifications that have to go out and all that stuff. Just looking out to let the community know when we can as best as we can.
Sure.
So we got one person that emailed all of us. Did somebody respond to that individual? I forwarded it to you.
From yours, I did speak with one
I think they may
contact.
have called into you guys too.
Yeah, that was the person. I spoke with him, kind of explained the situation, and I think he was good with it.
Okay. Water utility action items. I need a simple motion to approve authorization for Warren Water District to serve a customer within their territory upon proper notice to IMU, since the customer is within 2 miles of the IMU territory located at 9391 110th Avenue.
So
Second.
Want to
we did
say
both of
it?
them at the same time.
No, they're listed separately. Sorry. Do you want to or you want to make?
I don't have any
Okay.
comment, unfortunately.
Okay, all those in favor? Oh.
What's the matter?
I don't know, he was pointing at somebody over
I
here.
thought you were about to say something.
Oh, okay, all those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Then we have another simple motion to approve authorization for Warren Water District to serve a customer within their territory upon proper notice to IMU, since the customer is within 2 miles of the IMU territory, located at 9185 110th Avenue.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion? Are we good? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Lori?
No, I voted aye.
Oh, okay, I didn't hear you. Okay. Okay, then we're ready for water utility informational items.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to report that hasn't been shared already with you guys in the emails. Just busy with all the construction projects. The high school's actually kept us probably the busiest, just different shutdowns for tie-ins. And in the process, we did break a valve, which is definitely not uncommon, but we had to get that scheduled before school started. We were able to get that completed last week. As well, had another valve break. Mid-American hit a service line on the East Franklin project, and in that process, we broke the valve, shutting it down as well. But it is up and going, and all the valves are fixed, and we're just busy with contractors and trying to work around a few vacations, so we're doing what we can.
Good.
Did I hear the school project should be done for, do we have a date?
For the first initial water main project is done. They do have to do, so we had to do the shutdown on Saturday for them to avoid shutting water down for the school. Unfortunately, one of the valves that is existing doesn't work, so they are doing another shutdown tomorrow after school. And then that should complete this first phase of the project.
Then is that done for till summer again, or?
I don't know their exact timing on when the other phases will start. There'll be more water main projects, but I don't know exactly when that phase is. Without looking at their schedule.
Okay, communications utility action items. Need a first and second motion to approve resolutions setting public hearing and letting dates for the fiber 2024-25 NOFA 7 Phase 3 RS number 14 project.
So moved.
Second.
Yep, and this is just our next phase on the NOFA construction to the south. So plans will be released next Tuesday, due back on the 24th, and we'll bring everything back here on October 14th for your review and consideration. So.
This is the last phase.
Yeah, it will be. We're going to bid it out as two different sections, but yeah, this will be the last bid we send out, so a request. So.
Okay, roll call?
Yes.
Selgrade, White,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Rosga,
Yes.
Voigt.
Yes.
Okay, now the communications utility informational items, please.
Yeah. Oops, I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't have a ton either, other than what we've already sent you. Just a quick update. Did receive notice that the 3/4 ton truck has been built, so we're just waiting for delivery. Did we meet with truck equipment on last Friday, so we're getting all that in place. So hopefully I have that vehicle in production here in by mid-October is my hope. So they thought no more than 3 weeks to get it delivered, and we're already a good week into it. So which is good news.
Great.
We thought maybe it was going to be the end of November, so that went much quicker than we thought. So as I mentioned, talking to Dom earlier, XGS pond equipment has been ordered. This is a replacement for the GPON 8 cards that we currently have. So we'll get those in and start testing those, and then we can take a look at some different speed options after the first of the year, which will be fun. So, and other than that, yeah, we're kind of the same as Justin mentioned too, just trying to get through end of the year stuff, vacation, school starting, stuff like that. But other than that, business as usual. So.
Good. Okay, combined electric, water, and communications action items. Need a first and second motion to approve consideration of the approval of an agreement with Impact to administer the Iowa Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program.
Second.
Okay, discussion or?
I do have a question on that, Deb.
Yeah.
So that I can't see that corner of the room, but is there any difference from last year's contract to this year's contract? When I looked at it, I couldn't really tell. I didn't know if there was anything that was newly added or changed that we would want to be aware of.
No, everything's the same. I talked to Paula on the phone and everything stayed the same. There's nothing new.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Roll call? Oh, it's a simple motion, okay. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Deb, just one more quick question, then, Alicia, with the Salvation Army agreement kind of running in the same time frame, did we get any update on that one as well?
I believe that one's up in October, I believe.
Okay,
I'm
Okay.
not 100% sure, but I don't think we're up on that yet. It's
okay,
kind of
I just
different.
was putting those kind of in the same time frame because they were covering kind of the same thing.
Yeah, because we did like 6 months, and then I think we did like a year after that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Next, combined electric, water, and communications informational items.
All right, I was out in Nebraska last week at our meetings. I think I sent you a little update about the audit report and the financials from Mean. That everything there went as well as expected, and thus far the first quarter, they're April 1st fiscal year beginning. So we also had our first quarter, and they're doing pretty well. Compared to budget, they're about $1.5 million net ahead of the budget. The tight capacity markets remain, so don't start spending the extra money that we'll have quite yet. But I think there is a little bit of, they talked with some level of certainty that we'd have another wholesale rate increase this year. So the conditions are still there that would warrant it, but thus far our performance has been a little better than expected, so it might be lesser or a lesser impact. That's really following, low natural gas prices right now, kind of the big driver with that. As far as larger and longer term stuff, we considered a lot of the EPA Rule 111D, and really what that means is it's emissions regulations that would effectively force the retirement of our coal plants, the coal plant that we own in conjunction with a number of other entities. There are ways around that by making partial improvements that would extend that life a little bit longer. And one of the options that would require significant investment would be if that was converted to natural gas by 2030. That would forego that enforcement mechanism. So natural gas probably is the leading solution converting. There's still a lot of life left in that plant. But we're pretty deep into a financial analysis of operations. The Mean board also voted to increase our capacity payments. We get currently $2 per kilowatt month for standby for those turbine generators. The market has increased over the past couple of years. The proposal that was voted on was increasing those payments to $3 per kilowatt month over the next 2 years, happen each year. So just for financial impact to us, we get about $1 million, $750,000 net, but about $1 million in gross dollars for those capacity payments. And depending where our units test, if that $1 million goes up by a factor of 50%, it's probably about a net $500,000 positive to our bottom line. So I'll look forward to that. Like I said, that increases over 2 years.
That was approved?
It was approved. We did talk about a little different mechanism for, Mike and I kind of had some gripes about the fuel reimbursement mechanism. We started that discussion, didn't end anywhere, but I think people were interested in solving a particular problem, and that'll also, given our low tank price, the average price for reimbursement, the group thought we shouldn't be going into our own pocket to replace the fuel that we're using, and so I think that'll be another positive movement expected to come up over the next couple of meetings. Auditors were on site. They left midday Thursday, even though they planned on being here Friday. So I take that as a good, I think Chris did a phenomenal job this year getting everything organized and prepped and ready. And, every year we do it a little better. This was no exception. And, they spent a day and a half less on site than they expected. We are even though they finished a little faster, we're still expecting that formal presentation during the first meeting of December. It's kind of our usual schedule. Solar groundbreaking is scheduled for September 25th at 10 a.m. It will be at the water plant. We'll post that on Facebook and everything else. So if public's listening, please come out. We're excited about that. Sandhills will be sending formal invitations. If you guys haven't got those already, you should be getting them relatively soon.
Chris, who from the community would be invited, or even from the county, and even maybe some state, whatever, the people that we would want to have there?
Certainly everyone's invited. We're not,
Well, I
not
understand
stopping.
that.
The Sandhills folks and the city's communications director, we're working on a good list. Once we have a formalized list, I'll send that out to you guys. If there's anything missed, but certainly all the community members. I got a commitment from the mayor. The mayor will be there to say a
Well, but
couple
even
of
media
words.
outlets too.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as,
Yeah, and for our whole list of press, public release stuff, press release stuff, we'll get that out to all those media contacts as well.
what's the date again?
September 25th.
Are we gonna have any food or drinks? Just curious.
It'll be relatively short. Sandhills is kind of coordinating for grand baking ceremonies that day, so we'll allow everyone to stick around and get some fresh water right out of the tap. But after that, they're going to want to get up and pack and head up to Waverly after us.
Okay.
So that was September 25th at 10 a.m.
Yep.
I'm just curious, sometimes you see extras, sometimes you don't.
And lastly, we're expecting to resume our 2 meeting per month schedule in October. So our next 2 meetings will be September 23rd and October 14th. And that,
Not at the beginning of September.
yeah. Okay, yeah,
And you said
skip
October 14th, that's our
Yep.
first one?
We were talking about fuel. Months ago, we were talking about the potential of buying fuel from someone. I'm assuming that's kind of dissolved and disappeared.
Yeah, and then they weren't able to strike that deal.
Okay.
As I'm looking at Justin's map here, made me think of it. Looking at the old sewer plant, I'm just curious. Has anything been decided from a city perspective that maybe I'm just unaware of as to how that's going to be used? Are we in the loop on that at all? I'm just curious.
I personally haven't heard anything.
They had a couple of ideas, and I spoke with Ben at length when he was considering different options, but that was kind of pre-budget, and I don't know that anything was necessarily decided. The
That does not
remediation costs.
affect us at all, does it? We don't have any infrastructure or anything out there?
No.
I didn't think we did. I just wanted.
Anything else?
That is all right.
Anything under other business? Anybody? Okay, I would take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thanks, Lori.